A quiet afternoon in a grocery store parking lot took a shocking turn when a white security guard accused a black woman of theft, humiliating her in front of a growing crowd. What he didn't realize was that the woman he targeted wasn't just anyone. She was a renowned pediatric surgeon with a story that would leave everyone, including him, speechless. What happened next would spark a powerful lesson about prejudice, resilience, and redemption. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. By the way, what city are you watching us from? Write it in the comments, we're curious. It was a sunny afternoon when Dr. Nadine Harris, a 38-year-old pediatric surgeon, stepped out of a grocery store with a basket of fresh produce. After a long shift at the hospital, she looked forward to a rare quiet evening at home, cooking a meal from scratch. She walked toward her car, her thoughts preoccupied with the patients she had treated that day. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A white security guard burst out of the store, his voice sharp and accusatory, calling Nadine to stop. Confused, she froze as he stormed toward her. Before she could ask what was wrong, he grabbed her arm, pulling the basket from her hands. Groceries spilled onto the pavement, oranges rolling in every direction. "Thought you'd get away with stealing?" the guard snarled, his voice echoing across the parking lot. The crowd began to gather, their murmurs blending with the afternoon breeze. Nadine, still processing what was happening, tried to explain, but the guard cut her off, his anger blinding him. In his fervor, he grabbed her blouse, yanking it in a way that tore the fabric. Gasps erupted from the crowd as Nadine's undershirt was exposed. Her face flushed, not from guilt, but from the humiliation of being treated like a criminal. She crossed her arms over her chest, her gaze steady despite the indignity she felt. Then, from the crowd, a voice spoke out, "Hey! I know her." A middle-aged man stepped forward, his face filled with shock and recognition. "That's Dr. Nadine Harris," he announced. "She's a pediatric surgeon, one of the best in the city. She saved my niece's life last year." The guard froze, his grip on Nadine slackening as the weight of the man's words hit him. His eyes darted between Nadine and the crowd, now buzzing with murmurs of disbelief and disapproval. "You've got the wrong person," the man continued, his voice growing louder. "This woman has dedicated her life to saving kids. How dare you treat her like this?" The guard's face turned pale. His hands trembled as he removed his uniform shirt and offered it to Nadine, his voice shaking. I didn't know. I'm so sorry." Nadine accepted the shirt and wrapped it around herself, her hand steady as she regained her composure. The crowd fell silent, their attention locked on her. Then, instead of retreating or leaving, she turned to face them and the guard. With the eyes of the crowd upon her, Nadine spoke, her voice firm but calm. "You didn't know who I was," she began, addressing the guard directly. "But you didn't stop to think before you judged me. You didn't stop to ask yourself why you assumed the worst about me." The guard looked down, his shame evident. Nadine took a step forward, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "I wasn't always a surgeon," she continued. "I grew up in a small, segregated town where people didn't see potential in kids like me. They saw trouble. They saw what they wanted to see, just like you did today." She told them about her childhood, about her parents' sacrifices and the lessons they taught her. "My father worked double shifts at a factory so I could have school supplies. My mother, a teacher, made me believe I could do anything, even when the world told me otherwise." Nadine's voice grew steadier, each word carrying the weight of her experiences. She shared how she worked her way through medical school, enduring constant doubt and discrimination. "I was told I didn't belong in the operating room, that I should stick to nursing or find another career altogether. But I stayed. I fought. Not for their approval, but because I knew what I was capable of." She paused, letting her words sink in before delivering the hardest truth. "Today, I saved 3 children's lives before I came to this store. I've held parents as they cried, and I've worked 18-hour shifts so families could have a little more time with their babies. And yet, none of that mattered when you looked at me today. All you saw was the color of my skin." The guard's face was flushed with embarrassment. The weight of Nadine's words pressed down on him as the crowd murmured in agreement. Some nodded solemnly, others glared at the guard. I'm sorry, the guard stammered. I was wrong. I let my own prejudice blind me. Nadine nodded but didn't let him off the hook. Sorry isn't enough, she said. It's a start, but it doesn't erase what happened here today. It doesn't erase the harm done to so many others who don't get the chance to speak up. The crowd shifted, the tension in the air thick with the realization that this wasn't just about one mistake. It was about a pattern, a system, that allowed such mistakes to happen repeatedly. The man who had recognized Nadine stepped forward again. Dr. Harris, he said, his voice steady, you've inspired us before, and you're inspiring us now. What can we do to make this right? Nadine took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the crowd once more. Start by recognizing your own biases, she said. Challenge the assumptions you make about people, and don't stay silent when you see injustice. It's not enough to feel bad about it, you have to act. Turning back to the guard, she added, and you use this as a lesson. Educate yourself. Learn about the people you're supposed to protect, and make sure this never happens again. The guard nodded, tears welling in his eyes. I will, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The crowd slowly began to disperse, but Nadine's words lingered in the air. As she gathered her scattered groceries, several people stepped forward to help. The man who had defended her offered to walk her to her car, and she accepted with a small smile. By the time Nadine drove away, the parking lot had returned to its usual hum, but the incident had left an indelible mark on everyone who had witnessed it. In the days that followed, the story spread, sparking conversations about bias, accountability, and the hidden stories of those we often misjudge. For Nadine, the experience was a painful reminder of the work still to be done, but also a testament to the power of speaking up and demanding better. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video to show your support.